Welcome to Everyday Ethics, folks. And today I want to discuss the importance of having a good work ethic. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. They don't even have to be about work ethic as long as they're tied to the uh, purpose of the show, which is everyday ethics. So, what is work ethic? What does it mean? To me, work ethic means to do your absolute best at whatever job you've been hired to do, or as an entrepreneur, or, whatever business you're owning. It just simply means to do your best, work your hardest, work your smartest, come out with the best product or service that you're capable of. The archetype for me of this is Brett McCall. Brett McCall taught me the importance of work ethic while we were in prison, and we had a lot of conversations. We worked in the prison wood shop together, and I would watch him work, and he wouldn't even take a break. He just was all day, nonstop, doing his absolute best to create the absolute best product. And there was so many reasons for this. One was simply that he liked the challenge of doing his best. He liked to work hard. Something else was that he held the view, and I agree with him, that when you take a job, when you work for somebody, it's implied that you're going to do your best. They're not hiring you to be half-assed. They're hiring you to do the best you can for them. And yes, Danny, Wednesday's good. And the thing is this, there's people say, well, they're not paying me enough, but you knew that when you went in. If you've agreed to terms, whatever they've agreed to pay you and you've agreed to accept, the implication is that you're going to do your best. That means that you're not shirking, you're not taking breaks, you're not pretending to be sick when you aren't. It just means you go in there and you give it your absolute all. Now, how does that tie in to, say, our ethic of rational self-interest? Well, obviously, if you were working hard, if you were doing your best, other people are going to see this. Your reputation will grow. Hi, Katrin. So when you are going, when you want to go for another job, you would have a resume, you have a what do they call, reference, that will say, yes, this person worked incredibly hard for me. This person puts out a good product. This person is worth hiring. There's also the fact that we are creatures of habit, us human beings. So if you develop the habit of always doing your best, it becomes easier and easier. And by the way, it doesn't just apply to work ethic, it applies to everything. That when we cultivate the habit of doing the best, of being our best, it becomes almost like what Aristotle said, second nature to us, to be virtuous, to do the best that we can. Now, what happens when should we want to go out and venture on our own and start a business? Well, those habits are there. So now when we're working for ourselves, we're once again working to put out the best product at the best price, to give it the best service that we can do. And then people want what we are selling. People want to hire us. I mean, just look at something like my friend Subby, for instance, is a landscaper. Now, suppose that Subby had the reputation, which he doesn't, for half-assing. Now, Subby goes, he does a lawn, he does the bushes. The other neighbors see that it's a half-ass job. They don't want to hire him. The person that has hired him to begin with now is unlikely to suggest to their friends, their family, that they hire him. So Subby's business doesn't grow. Now imagine Subby goes there and the neighbors see that when Subby goes there, he's respectful. He takes care of the things that he's supposed to be doing. He works incredibly hard. The job is impeccable. Well, now maybe the neighbors come over and say, hey, why don't you work for me? Why don't you do my yard? And now the person for whom he's working, when somebody asks, do you know a guy? Yeah, I know a guy. I know Subby. Now this applies to whatever you're doing, whether you be an Uber driver, a McDonald's employee, a waiter, a waitress, whatever you're doing, you should do your absolute best because it's in your interest to do so. I mean, I try to put out a good product here. When I'm here and I'm talking and I'm conveying my life experiences and I'm giving, for lack of a better word, advice when I'm explaining what the ethical thing to do is, I want to do the best that I can because I want you to continue to tune in. I want you to recommend this show to your friends. I want this show to grow so that ultimately I can make money off of it. That's what I want to do. And speaking of money, the super chats are open, as are the super stickers. So my buddy Danny says here, all my business is reference based. I don't like walk-in customers. I want someone who has an idea of my work and what I charge before wasting my time. And I would guess, Danny, that that applies to wasting their time as well. You want to be a hard worker. You want to work hard, work smart, create a good product. That's how you succeed. Remember, one of our the fundamental values was purpose, and one of the six virtues was productiveness. We want to produce with purpose. We want to achieve our long range goals. Wow. We have two super stickers right in a row, back to back. One from Kathy Cassio for $2.99. Thank you so much, Kathy. And one from Daniel Suska for $1.99. Thank you so much. So Kathy gave $2.99. Daniel gives $1.99. And I thank you both ever so much. So, oh, wow. And here comes Jenna Kleem with a $2 super sticker. Jenna, thank you ever so much. So I didn't always have a good work ethic. Let me just tell you, my natural inclination is to be very, very lazy. Right. Um, so that's what I would do. I would just be lazy. If I got a job, I would half-ass it. Even when I was in prison, I'd get a job. I wouldn't do very, very well. I wouldn't care. And, that word spreads. But even in prison, once I started to work hard, once I started to do my best, I got a reputation for somebody that would get the job done, especially when it came to doing floors. So in prison, I stripped and waxed floors. I buffed them to keep them shiny. And I got a reputation for somebody that worked very hard and did a very good job. Katie Ellis with a super sticker for $2.99. Thank you so much, Katie. So with that, I'll never forget as long as I live. I came into a disagreement with long story, but it doesn't matter. I ended up losing my job and losing my housing. So Brent and I had been cellmates for a little more than 5 years at this time, almost 6. And we got separated because I lost the job, not over a work ethic issue, over a personality clash with a boss who had personality clashes with everybody, including his coworkers and his superiors. So anyways, and I got transferred out of the block and I was very, very unhappy. And I saw a lieutenant who worked third shift. He used to be a CO in the block where I lived when I was what's called a tierman. So he knew about my work ethic. He knew the quality. And I called him over and I said, hey, Ramos, I said, you got any work for me? He said, you want to do floors on third shift? I said, hell yes. He said, write me a request. I'll get you down there. We'll get you a job. I had a job within a week. I was back in the block where I wanted to be. And I did a fantastic job for him. I did a fantastic job for subsequent captains, so much so that one of the captains who was third shift, he was my supervisor, my boss. He ended up getting the job as what's called a unit manager in my block. And he needed someone to do the floors in the block. Guess who he hired? Me, because I now had that reputation of doing such a good job. As Nicole Hingle says, our work ethic becomes our reputation. When one is consistent and reliable, others learn they can put trust in you. And over time, that reputation will create even more opportunities. Yes, absolutely, Nicole. No name references procrastination. Yes, procrastination is the death knell of a good work ethic. A lot of people look for motivation. They want to be motivated and get the energy to go out there and do what they got to have to do. But sometimes it's just about doing it whether you feel like it or not. That's when it matters. That's when character shows. If I feel like doing it, if I'm excited to get going, then I mean, okay, I mean, it's still good. That's a good character trait to build, to be excited about work. But you can't count on that. There's going to be times when you don't feel like it. When those times happen, that's when it matters. That's when the rubber meets the road. When you say, you know what, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what. No Name wants to know, how do I stay positive when I read news? Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it affects me very negatively, and you have to talk my way back into feeling positive. I realized, through a lot of engagement online in high conflict, low productive conversations I was having online, it was actually affecting my personality. So I decided to stop doing that. So sometimes you just have to stop. I'm not going to do that any longer. I'm still going to post online. I'm still going to give my opinion, but I don't need to get into discussions where people are going to be insulting me, where they're not able to follow an argument, where I'm going to become frustrated. I don't need to do that. It's counterproductive to my long-term goals. So I made that announcement on social media. I also said, listen, if somebody wants to have a productive debate with me, I'll bring them on the show. You just have to DM me, and I'd be happy to do it. Who prays for Satan? Persephone says, discipline is honestly one of the most important traits you can cultivate in yourself, because too many people wait to be inspired. Sometimes you just have to do shit. Yes. Yes, yes. And let me tell you, Persephone, what a wonderful work ethic she has as the producer of the Capitalist Corner, which, by the way, is on every day at from 12 to 1 every weekday, except for tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow I will not be here. I'm going to the Soho Forum debates in Soho, New York. So I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be back Wednesday, and we are going to do our criminal rehabilitation series that some of you expressed an interest in seeing. So we will definitely be doing that. You know, I talked about this a little bit earlier on the Capitalist Corner. Oh, and by the way, there's a great episode out right now. Well, I'm not debating tomorrow, Daniel. I'm just going to watch the debates, but thank you for the good luck. But now I forgot great episode right now out of my podcast, The Rational Egoist. So James Stevens at Valiant and I are doing a series where we apply the book Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, specifically to the goal of self-improvement. And this episode we just released this morning, it's about how learning about concept formation helps us in our goal of self-improvement. Very good episode, very good series. I really am excited about it and looking forward to continue it. And Jim Valiant's great. Everything I do with Jim is gold. He is absolutely fantastic. Very smart guy, very enthusiastic guy. If you don't know who he is, check him out. Facebook, Twitter. You'll love him. So back to this, what I wanted to say, that's what I want to talk about. So I was talking earlier on the Capitalist Corner about Donald Trump. We were talking about something he did that I said was indicative of his character. Not important right now. What is important is that sometimes, many times, little things reveal a lot. So I've heard it said that if you go into a restaurant's bathroom and that bathroom is dirty, then you don't want to eat there, because it's indicative of the restaurant and how they run things, how they cook things. And often a person's character is revealed in small things. Does the person hold open the door for the person behind them? Does the person cut people off in traffic? And one indication of this is, how does the person work? Right. So if you see a person working and that person's like la-ti-da, very casual about what they're doing, don't really care whether it gets done or not. They're looking at their watch, can't wait to leave. And you juxtapose that with somebody, when you look at that person, they are moving with purpose, with intent. You can see they're trying to accomplish things. They're trying to get things done. They're trying to put out a good product. It reveals the person with whom you are dealing. Jenna Cleem says, "Good for you." Thanks, Jenna Cleem. I think that was really the right move for me to stop negative engagement online. It was really, especially for me as a rehabilitated criminal, it was bringing out bad feelings in me, bad thoughts in me that are just not good. I was irritable much of the time, and I don't like being irritable. And then I ended up taking it out on other people. They can see that I'm irritable. It just wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the people around me. There was nothing being gained from it. It wasn't productive discussions. I love to debate. Don't get me wrong. What I don't like is debates that turn into food fights, insults, um, people pretending to understand things they really don't. That is not healthy, not good for me, not even a little bit. I just wonder, for you in the audience, does anybody want to share an incident or a time in your life that you've benefited from having a good work ethic? And on the contrary, maybe you want to talk about a time when you were suffered for having a bad work ethic. Danny's older brother, I'm not gonna mention his name or anything, but I remember he had a reputation. He worked at a pizza place starting when he was like 13. And this guy, his job was to put the pizza boxes together. So when they were ordered, they could put the pizza in the box and send it out. This guy, I swear to God, you would be astonished at how quickly this guy was able to do these boxes, and everybody knew it. So I have to imagine the people he worked for. I mean, all of us, even today, people will say, "Remember how that guy put those boxes together?" That is huge when you develop that reputation for being able to do something well and for working hard. I take my friend Carlos Robolo. He came to work in the wood shop with us also because he wanted to learn from Brent. And Brent taught him the work ethic, taught him the importance of working hard, of doing your best. Carlos has taken that work ethic now. A little bit more than 3 years out of prison, he owns his own business. He's a successful entrepreneur, braiding hair. And I mean, he always, uh, talks about the impact that Brent had on him by teaching him the work ethic and how that's benefiting him even today, how his reputation is growing, how many clients he has. I mean, this guy works 7 days a week. It's hard for me to even, get him to come out and do things because he's always working. Of course, tomorrow he is taking the day off to come with me to New York. I'm very excited about that. I get to spend the day with Carlos. Danny says about his brother, he was a fast box maker. People used to stop and watch him. Unfortunately, they wanted him to continue to make boxes. I can imagine so, but I can also imagine that he would be in a good position to bargain for higher pay then. If you want me to continue to do this, then you're going to have to pay me or else I'm going elsewhere. Now, whether he actually was smart enough to do that, I don't know. I just know that he had a very good work ethic and was very good at making the boxes. Nicole Hingle says, I'm benefiting from it right now. The attorney I work for gives me good reviews, which has resulted in significant raises over the past 4 years. It also comes with more responsibilities, but that's okay. Persephone says, I own a marketing agency, and 90% of our business comes from referrals because our clients tell their friends, colleagues that we go above and beyond. They wouldn't do that if we slacked off. Exactly. Word spreads. And also you get a good feeling, right? If you've got a rational standard of judgment, you judge yourself as being a purposeful, productive person, and that results in good self-esteem, right? You feel that you're capable of achieving the things in life that you want, and you feel like you're worthy of accomplishing them, and you feel better. Your confidence grows, your self-respect grows. Robert Nasir, the great Robert Nasir, by the way, of 5 minutes. I think it's called 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy. Robert, if I'm wrong about that, correct me. And if you have any other podcasts that you want to promote, Robert, please put them in the chat, because Robert is excellent and definitely worthy of a follow. Robert Nasir says, all throughout, my work ethic made it possible to prioritize both ability and people skills, which I've always regarded to be a false alternative, despite many of my fellow IT people being personality free. Yeah, look, if you're dealing with people, you definitely want to cultivate people skills. You need to know how to communicate, what is likely to put people off, what is likely to draw people to you, what is likely, especially if you're in a position of leadership, what is likely to get the best out of the people that I'm in charge of managing. Daniel wants to know, what's the chance you can make a sustainable living as a professional high speed pizza box maker? Zero, Danny. But your brother was also 13 at the time. So we have to keep that in context. But what he could do is walk and say, if you're not going to pay me more or give me more responsibilities, I'm going to leave. I'll go work elsewhere. Assuming that he takes that work ethic that helped him to become that box maker, if he takes that work ethic elsewhere, then he will grow his reputation even more. Persephone says, most of the time, the reason we go above and beyond for clients is not because we want their referrals, but because we want the work we put out to be the best it can be. Well, that's also being proud of the work that you're doing. That's very important as well. Now, what can you do to cultivate a good work ethic? Well, the first thing is do it. Just start, put in more effort. But also, I mean, whatever you do, there's likely to be, for instance, books out there. Like, Robert talked about people skills. Well, I mean, I could think about, How to Win Friends and Influence People by, Dale Carnegie, Confidence and Power When Dealing with People, I think, by a guy named Les Gibbon. And there's probably a ton of other books on how to deal with people. How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. I can't remember who wrote the book, but there's a lot of them out there. And there's books, for instance, on podcasting, how to communicate on a podcast, how to set up a podcast, what microphone do you need? If you want to be an electrician, there's books on that. There's books literally on everything. There's YouTube videos that you can watch so that you can cultivate, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You just have to be willing to put forth the effort. Effort is huge. One of the things that Dr. Samanow and Yokelson talked about with criminals, just to anticipate our upcoming discussion, is they don't put effort into things. They simply refuse. And when there's time to put effort, they quit, they give up, they walk away, they go to bed, whatever. They just don't put effort into what they're doing. Life requires effort, right? Cultivating a good work ethic requires effort. Developing a good character requires effort. I really wish that my friend Danny would share. Danny is an entrepreneur. He also is a very hard worker, very successful. I wish he would share a story where his good work ethic has paid off for him. That would be great if he would do that. Let me see if we've got any other comments. Maybe I missed something here. No, I did not miss anything, which speaks, I would say, to my good work ethic and paying attention. Oh, okay. Robert Nasir with a super chat. Thank you so much, Robert. He says, thanks, Michael. Amy and I do indeed have great fun presenting 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir every Sunday night at 6 Eastern, right here on the YouTube. Kudos. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Robert. Robert, is somebody I can't recommend him enough. I can't recommend his wife Amy enough. They are really, really good people, excellent communicators, very positive attitudes at doing what they do. Definitely check them out. It's definitely worth it. Nicole Hingle says, have to work. Goodbye. There's that work ethic coming from Nicole, getting to work, doing what she needs to do. Always strive to be better, to do better. That, if I had to say, was the one message that I want to convey from this particular show, is always strive to be better, do better. You know, life, I've heard it said you're either going forward or backward. I've heard people take issue with it, but I tend to think that stagnation is not possible, right? That you don't just stay in one place. And even if it were the case that I either stay stagnant or grow, I'm going to choose growth, right? I want to grow. There's always areas where I can become better, a better person, a better friend, a better boyfriend, a better podcaster. Um, you know, a better communicator, right? Whatever it is, a better dog sitter. There's so many ways in which I can improve myself. And so I've constantly got to strive. I'm constantly introspecting. I'm constantly checking my environment for feedback about what I'm doing. Searching, asking other people, whatever it may be. There are always things that you can do to become better. So Katrin Kohler says, one of two. In my job, I'm known for being able to find solutions, taking responsibility, even if it actually would be up to my manager. But they don't. I don't let myself content with the mindset, not my problem. Two of two, she says, I find solutions and get things done. That's one reason the employees and also our business partners, meanwhile, prefer working with me instead of with the others. Yes. When she says not my problem, also, I just do not fall into the trap of saying, not my job. It's somebody else's job. I'm not going to do it. Right. Napoleon Hill, I want to say, is from Master Key to Riches. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But he talked about always go the extra mile when you're working. Always develop the habit of always going the extra mile. The late great Kobe Bryant, first one in the gym in the morning, last one out at night. I remember a story he told. I want to say I think it was Jalen Rose. I might be wrong, but I think it was Jalen Rose. And Jalen Rose says that he got to the gym and he was working out, and Kobe was there first, and Kobe stayed later, and then Kobe went out that night and played. And he asked him later, like, how did you do that? How do you work all day and then go out and play basketball? And Kobe told him, there was no way I was letting you come into that gym thinking that you outworked me. He said, you are going to know that I am working harder than you are, period. And I thought that was just, Kobe's work effort was legendary. Ultimately, an MVP, 2 finals MVPs, 5 NBA championships, multimillionaire. It paid off for him. That type of a work ethic. Robert Naser says, you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting, and there's nothing in between. He said, while I do take exception to that, let me scroll it up so I can actually read it. While I do take exception to that, since the sweet spot in between is where I try to live, I do acknowledge there's great wisdom there. Life is short, make things happen. Yes, Robert, life is short, make things happen. Jenna Kleem says, assuming you have the ability, working on electric stuff is not my job. Well, yes, I'm not suggesting that you walk around town and look for things to do that you don't know how to do. But if you're at a job and you know how to do it, yes, then, if your boss asks you to do it, do it. Develop the habit of being the person they go to when they need stuff done. It will pay off for you in the long run. And that's what it's about. It's about acting in our long-term interest. It's about pursuing our best interest. Always remember that. Always strive. Be your best. Do your best. Whatever you do, do with all your might. That's a great quote. Now, I understand you can't take it literally. There's some things you're going to do. You need a break. You need rest. I'm not suggesting that you burn yourself out. Certainly. Sometimes you might need to learn to find a balance, but nevertheless, always strive, be better, do better. All right. We're in the last minute of the program here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in once again. Remember, I won't be here tomorrow. Wednesday, I will be back. and we will start a series on criminal rehabilitation. And the everyday ethics theme obviously will fit in very well with that. I hope you will all join me. I absolutely love you all. Remember, also check out my podcast, The Rational Egoist. James Valiant just chimed in. I've got a great episode out with him right now. I've got some great episodes coming up with a historian interview about Franklin Roosevelt. I've got a discussion coming up with Sheldon Richman about anarchy and capitalism. That should be a great talk. We've got a lot of good things in the works. And check out the Capitalist Corner every day at 12 o'clock. Everybody, thank you ever so much for taking your time to join me. Love you all. Have a great, great night and have a great day tomorrow.